I wonder, okay, the audio is working. All right, well today, happy Friday, everyone. This is my first time actually recording a video through YouTube, so I hope this goes okay and I hope the audio is good. Today we're at Gamble Garden and it is about 6 p.m. now, so the lighting is pretty much perfect and it's really comfortable, and it's just a really nice place that's open to the public for free. You don't have to pay admission, although it's always nice to give support to a nonprofit like this through donation or by joining as a member. I love this garden, and some of you guys may know that I was a horticulturist here for a couple of years, and there's so many plants to check out, lots of trees, and it just feels so nice. So I hope you'll enjoy this walk with me. We're just gonna walk around and I'm pretty much just going to look at the plants and I guess comment on them. Just something that I would normally do if I were to take a walk by myself. So here is a yellow abetalon, and this is part of a container planting. It's really pretty. And it's been pruned nicely so that it just kind of hovers. Right now, the deutzia is blooming. This is what it looks like. It's a once blooming shrub. It's a pretty large shrub. So that's the deutzia, and then here it is too. So pretty. It arches and cascades. And it's a cane grower, so you're going to see a lot of trunk and branches coming from the base.
Cara, eu fiz o erro de comprar esses cookies aqui por a quarentena de 2 semanas, né?
So this does go deciduous in winter.
Porque não tinha nada em casa.
It's better to have this in the background, I think, in my opinion.
É, só o que eu.
And the acanthus mollis is blooming now.
Aí,
Flowers are so tall.
anteontem, acho que uma mega. Um dia eu vou colocar na quarentena. Uma mega.
I think it's one of the most attractive plants next to camellias. So this is the wisteria garden, and the wisteria is done blooming. If you do get a chance to visit Gamble Garden, I definitely suggest that you come through in April when this is blooming, because these wisterias are kind of special. They're actually double blossomed and they're really fragrant. The one up here is a white flowering one. It's wrapped around the structure. If you look at the wisteria, now that the flowers are done, there are lots of shoots coming out. And these really need to be managed throughout the season, throughout summer and fall, before they start getting into cracks of structures or before they start climbing into trees. So you do want to top them every few weeks. I guess we'll go this way. The sunlight is really nice. But we're gonna make a detour here because as I entered the garden, I saw that one of the dogwoods are blooming. So here is a dogwood. Flowers are kind of small. So pretty. It's quite tall. It looks to be about, 12 feet tall right now. And this one is Cornus cusa. So this does go deciduous too. And it's only once blooming during this time. I think Cornus cusa blooms later in the season compared to Cornus florida. Because I have Florida in my own garden, and it bloomed about a month ago. And then through here, there are a few magnolias, but you can see that there are a bunch of columbines. And then just behind, this is hardly noticeable, but these are all oak leaf hydrangeas. They're usually pruned pretty aggressively each year. But they do get quite tall if you just let them go. And they haven't bloomed yet. I actually really love this shrub, and I don't see it used often. It doesn't look like much, but it's evergreen, and it has a cascading habit too. It grows a little funky, but if you prune it, if you know what you're doing, if you're pruning it nicely, then it has a really good feel to it. This is called Cocculus laurifolius. It's in shade right now. It's a really good cut foliage plant for floral arranging. I like it. Let's go in here. So this is kind of a mixed bed. Mostly salvias, but there are some random plants too, like some ornamental grasses and some pyrus, dianella, hellebores. This is a mix of salvias. There are some really drought tolerant ones that are good for exposed arid areas, but then there are some that come from the cloud forest that do require some light shade and regular moisture. I think some of these need to be pruned. But you know, during coronavirus, times are hard. These are not normal times, so considering this garden is looking fabulous considering what's going on with coronavirus. You know, there are staff horticulturists here, but there are also dedicated volunteers who really contribute a lot to this garden, and without that volunteer participation, there's a lot of work that needs to be covered by the horticulturists. And usually the horticulturists help to guide the volunteers and also work on some of the projects that require a lot of horticultural knowledge, like aesthetic pruning or even planting. Planting isn't so easy with all sorts of plants. Some plants are forgivable and some plants really do need more precise work. Wow, look at this. That's blooming. So these beds are actually Mediterranean climate beds, and each single one is of a particular region. But check that out. What is this, Daucus? What is this? No, it's not Daucus. What is this? Is there a label for this? I think this is called Ferula communis. It looks like it's part of the carrot family, which is Apiaceae. It looks very similar to carrot leaves, carrot flowers. That is tall. So let's check out the signs. Over here, this is a sampling of plants from the Western Cape, South Africa. So these are some of the plants from South Africa. Some of these are common landscape plants, and some are not so common. Like, for instance, this aloe is pretty common. This is called fan aloe, or Aloe plicotilis. I think it's really cool. Very sculptural, and the flowers are super showy. This is another common landscape plant, but an uncommon variety. This is a leucadendron, and the variety is called ebony. It's got a really deep burgundy, almost black color. And then just next to it is another type of leucadendron. So, yeah, there are a lot of plants that are a little more esoteric, but then some that are quite common. And over here we have a couple of puyas. And check out the flowers. They look so alien. This one is called, Puya cerula, or violacea. And then this puya is called Puya venista. And check this out. Here's an alstroemeria, a Peruvian lily. And this one too. So I believe this bed is central Chile. So these are plants native to that region. Oh, and there are a lot of Sisyrinchiums here. So Sisyrinchium Aunt May. They're part of the iris family. And this looks like an Erica. What is this? No, it's not Erica. This is a Fabiana. This is a really cool plant. Once it gets established and grows big, it looks pretty scrappy for most of the year. But in spring, it has so many flowers. It's covered with all these small flowers. I like how it looks scrappy. I know that sounds weird, but when you have a mass planting of something like this and it looks scrappy, it's a really nice background plant, even if it looks kind of brown. It really helps to make other plants stand out and pop. And then we've got some native strawberries from Chile. Over here is South and West Australia. This is so cute, these flowers. Chrysocephalum apiculatum, silver and gold. Actually, just there. That's an Australian fuchsia, the one that's variegated. A good plant for dry shade. Oh, and look at this. One of the most common landscape plants, Lomandra longifolia. Bulletproof, adaptable plant. And what was this final bed again? I think this is the Mediterranean basin. Let's just check. Ooh, I like how the flowers just kind of hang. This is a Scabiosa, wow. Okay, so this is the Mediterranean basin. You can see there's an olive tree or a shrub here. Okay, so why are there beds like this at Gamble Garden? Because this is completely appropriate to California climate in the Bay Area and Southern California. These plants and these regions have a similar climate type to where we live right now. So they will adapt and grow probably better than most traditional plants. They don't require excessive irrigation. They follow the seasons, the natural seasons here, just like California native plants. So if you're interested in doing a water appropriate garden, but want to add some interest and a little more spice to your garden, you can do a mix of California natives and plants from these other Mediterranean regions. And a lot of these plants, they have a tendency to bloom during early spring, late winter. That's also really nice because you have that added interest when most things are not blooming that early in the season. Over here are the foliage beds. It's really cool to see how you can create interest just by foliage. This is another Lomandra. This is called Platinum Beauty. It's variegated, it's more light colored, it's evergreen too. This one grows larger than Lomandra longifolia Breeze. Just know that. Yeah, it gets to be about 4 by 4. Whereas Lomandra breeze gets to be about 3 by 3. Here's Melianthus. It's done blooming. It's creating some seed pods now. Really interesting looking plant. You can find actually quite a bit of this at the San Francisco Botanical Garden. The flowers are incredible when they are in bloom. This is kind of a tender plant, and it does go deciduous. You basically cut it down to about 2 feet, 2.5 feet, and let it flesh out again next year. But looks really cool, except the foliage. Some people like the fragrance of the foliage, and some folks really don't like it. I'm one of the latter. I think it's too odorous. It's off-putting for me. So I actually had this growing in my garden, and I just took it out. I couldn't take the smell. But otherwise, I mean, I think it's great as a background plant between like foundation evergreen shrubs. Don't you love these trellises? I love them. You can get these from Summer Winds Nursery in Palo Alto or San Jose. These are great for veg beds too. If you want to grow some beans or peas. You can even grow some cucumbers and tomatoes on them as long as you tie them with some tape or twine. All right, I do love this plant. This is a Mahonia. Yeah, this is a Mahonia. This is a really soft Mahonia. It's called Soft Caress. It's not pokey. This is a totally underrated plant. It's evergreen. It prefers shade, light shade. It blooms during a really odd time of the year, from October to November. Incredible yellow flowers that grow as sprays. All right, so over here, you can see there are lots of flowers. This is like the official cutting garden of Gamble Garden. And there's a long time volunteer who developed this area, and he has been maintaining it for like over 20 years. And he's like 95 years old, and he does everything himself. He digs, he plants, he waters, he deadheads. Every week he comes, maybe twice a week, to take care of this cutting garden. And he has a horticultural background. He was a nurseryman. He had a nursery in Redwood City for a real long time. So if you ever see him and you have questions about plants or flowers, you can ask him. He knows a lot. But in this cutting garden, right in front of us, there's lots of Peruvian lily and some peonies that are coming up. These are more herbaceous type peonies versus the shrub ones. So here's some more peonies. They're so pretty. They're so big. But they fade so easily. Such a shame. What else is here? Okay, in front of us, all the blue and white flowers, those look like delphiniums. Oh, the white flowers are foxgloves in the middle, right there. But the blue flowers are delphiniums. The white ones over there are delphiniums. The key to growing both of these both are biennials. Any sort of biennial or perennial flower, you do want to plant them in fall and have them receive all the winter rains. That's how they're going to produce really dramatic, tall, big flowers. If you try to plant them in spring, they're going to look wimpy. They might not even bloom. Look how blue. They're so blue. And I know some people say foxgloves are weedy. They are not weedy. These are not weedy. Foxgloves self-seed, they do spread, but I think it's an overstatement to say that they're weedy. I don't think they're aggressive. These are the types of plants that you don't worry about. There are other scarier plants. Okay, so some more Alstroemeria, Peruvian lily. And what else is here? Here's a patch of yarrow. Look at that. What a great pollinator plant and a cut flower. And then here's another patch of yarrow. This is more like a salmon pink color and a white color. Oh, look at this. What is this called? I forgot what it's called. You know, Pete Udolph uses this a lot in his gardens. Completely forgot. I think it's called Veronicastrum. So the purple ones, I believe, are Veronica, and then the white and pink ones are called Veronicastrum. Okay, wow, check these out. All these zinnias. These are going to get tall. They're just starting out. And then there are a bunch of foxgloves. They'll continue to bloom as long as you deadhead them. You want to make sure you don't deadhead them to the ground. You just deadhead them to the next bud point so that you get rebloom. And these are just basic beds, garden beds that get tilled, amended, and then planted, and it turns into this. Oh, check out this bird. So cute. It looks so fat. Very healthy looking bird. I have to say, whenever I go to Filoli Garden, which is in Woodside, there are so many birds there, and the hummingbirds especially, they are the fattest hummingbirds I've ever seen. They get fed really well. Here are a few roses. I don't think there are labels here. Wow, look at this rose. This one's huge. This might be just Joey. Look at this. This is humongous. Oh, look, what is this red rose? It looks really pretty. That's nice, I like it. I'm a fan of David Austin roses, and obviously this is more like a hybrid tea rose or a modern rose. But lately, I've been getting into old roses, antique, old vintage roses. And Gamble does have a collection of a few of those roses, some really classic ones. It's in the rose garden. Maybe we'll head there later. This is a perennial border. We'll just go through it real quick and then head into the native garden and the new watershed garden. So we have a few ornamental grasses. This is Stipa gigantea. I think it's so lovely with the kangaroo paws. So pretty. It is not invasive. Even though the name is Stipa, it's not the same as Mexican feathergrass. And this is one of my favorite salvias here. This is Salvia amistad. Incredibly deep purple color. Hummingbirds love it. This one requires water. It's not drought tolerant. But I have to say this is one of my favorite ornamental grasses because the way that it catches sunlight and wind. So beautiful. Look at that. You do cut this back. Maybe every couple of years. I think it's good to cut it back and divide it. It does grow rapidly. It gets larger and wider each year. Oh, look at this dahlia. Pretty. That foliage is beautiful. Okay, let's go into the native garden because the sunlight is looking beautiful. Native garden is looking a little wild, but it's still looking beautiful. It's looking very happy. So, you know, some of my favorite plants here is obviously the Salvia apiana. These flowers, they really give some rhythm to the garden. And then those fried egg poppies in the background. They're so tall, beautiful, papery. There's lots of wildflowers going on. And actually there's some stuff that have creeped in that are non-native. But for the most part, it's mostly, nearly all of this is native. Just some things kind of make their way in by wind or by the birds or something. Like for instance, this Peruvian lily should not be here. And Peruvian lilies are invasive. If you cut a root, it spreads by rhizomes. So we've dug out this root many times, but it keeps on existing. But this is not a native plant. Wow, look at all those mimuluses. And look at that Dicolistemma. That weird red bulb. I have to say, this is pollinator heaven. See, there's some Peruvian lily. These need to be taken out. Oh my gosh, I remember planting these mimuluses. They were so tiny and they have grown so nicely. This is beautiful color. Bronzy burgundy color. It is called Mimulus bronze. That is so pretty. Look at that salvia. Oh my gosh. You know, I have a plan to redo my front yard in 5 to 7 years into a California native garden. I'm definitely going to be planting this and buckwheat and a lot of rhamnus, which is coffee berry. I love coffee berry. It's such a great foundation shrub. I think I'm gonna bring in some yarrow Not this one. This is Achillea millefolium, but I do want to bring in the one that is Sonoma Coast. Oh, there's some weeds going on here. Man, I need a volunteer here one of these days and just clean this up a little bit. Here is a beautiful aster, and it's more like a large scale ground cover. This is very aggressive, very aggressive. It has spread so much. Be careful when you plant this. Every year you may have to dig out a section of this to control it, because obviously the verbena is getting swallowed up by it, and same with the epilobium. There are some Clarkeas blooming. I think that's a volunteer there, because throughout this bed it should be Clarkea rubicunda. And do I see any coming up? They usually come on later. Oh, no. Is that Clarkea rubicunda? I think it is. Just starting. And then there is some Clarkea williamsonii or something over in that section. Or there should be. Oh my gosh, look at this epilobium and mimulus. Pretty. Here's the fried egg poppy. Everyone loves this. So pretty. Oh, that is so pretty with this erythron. This has a really nice fragrance to it. All right, you guys can check out the native garden. There's so much more to see here, but let's check out the new watershed garden. There is a nice transition zone between the natives into the watershed garden, and the watershed garden is a mix of mostly low water plants that are appropriate for California and California native plants. So in front of us we can see a lot of ribes. I think this is Ribes sanguineum. And then there's some Carpentaria californica with the white flowers. It's actually blooming right now. It's so beautiful. And we have a few toyons, Heteromelas arbitifolia, just the red ones. There are some of the Davis gold ones in another part of the garden, in the rain garden area. But fantastic foundation, large scale shrub, great habitat plant. They're forming flowers right now. You see these flowers? So many flowers, right? They're budding. These will eventually bloom and then turn into red berries that persist through winter. The birds absolutely love those berries. It's evergreen. It's really wonderful. I think also when you have a California native garden, it makes sense to bring some rock and boulders. It really integrates the landscape. Here is a meadow, and there are some heucheras still blooming. But a month ago, this was so beautiful. I mean, it is so beautiful right now. It's very calming. But this was filled with Iris Douglasiana, the white ones, the Pacific Coast iris. Here's one still blooming. So they're throughout this meadow. Right here. And here are some more. So there are a lot of California native plants here, but there are a lot of non-natives too that are perfectly good for our region. So there's some more yarrow, euphorbia. There are a lot of caryxes here, and what is this called? This is rock rose, cistus. You have some lavenders, lots of stuff. These are very tough plants. And I love how this used to be red roses. It's Palo Alto, Stanford. And it's nice that it's a continuation of the garden here too. I'm glad that they replaced that. So there are some sculptural, actually there are quite a bit of sculptural plants here. Obviously the palms, the Mexican fan palms, the Dasylirions, and then, what is this called? I totally forgot the name. Yucca gloriosa. Oh, this is Bright Star. Huh. Okay. So yuccas. So those are evergreen. Here's some Cystanthes, grandiflora, I believe. And the flowers are so pretty. They're like fuchsia colored. They look like little jewels, like little pearls. And then a bunch of really heat tolerant plants like the cistus and the salvias. There's some epilobium as well. But check out these Mexican fan palms. And this Dasylirion. Do you see how the heuchera pink bounces onto the Dasylirion? It's so pretty. There are a few of the Lomandra Platinum Beauty that we saw earlier. Gets to be 4x4. And then there are some more woodland plants. Like if we go into this section, there are some more heucheras. And I actually really love how these heucheras, they start off as pink flowers and they fade into this dull pink brown color. I think it has a nice quality to it. So for me personally, I wouldn't deadhead these yet. I think they're still so attractive. There are some juncus here. Juncus is a really good plant for rain gardens and dry creeks. They can tolerate boggy situations and very low water too. Although in summer, if there's no water, they do get a little ratty, but they still survive. They don't die. So some more woodland plants here. This looks like Gaultheria. Is this Gaultheria? Oh, it's grown quite a bit. This is a ground cover. You see here? This is Gaultheria. It produces small berries, small insignificant flowers. And then here's that Carpentaria. Carpentaria likes shade. And it can tolerate dry shade. So pretty. These flowers are so beautiful, but they are very slow growing. They're slow to establish. So it's a good idea to get a larger plant and get started with that, because they're going to take forever to grow otherwise. Here's some more carpenter. Oh my gosh, so pretty. You know, I saw this plant in a really sweet cottage garden in Palo Alto. It looked like a classic English cottage garden, except rather than using camellias, there were a bunch of these carpenterias. Here's the ceanothus. I wonder which one that is. Is there a label? I need to get the plant list for this garden so that I know what is in here. No label. Let's see if there's a label for this one. No label. Which ceanothus is this? There's so many ceanothus varieties out there. I have no idea. Okay, what is that? Is that Phlomis? I think that's Phlomis. Russelliana, I think. Which are yellow flowers. Tall yellow flowers. I'm not sure. Oh, whoa. There's something new, guys. There are some allium bulbs coming up too. You see that? Huh. I was not expecting that. Oh, wait. I found the label for the ceanothus. Okay, this is Skylark. Oh, okay. That's a very popular variety. All right, back to these allium bulbs. Look at that. That's pretty. So allium bulbs, they're treated like other spring bulbs, like daffodils or tulips. They usually come up in late spring, early summer, depending on the variety. Some allium bulbs are invasive, so you really do have to research the variety that you get and be careful about planting them. Yeah, if you do plant them in your garden, you probably want to pick the ones that are well behaved. Actually, the California native allium unifolium, that one's pretty invasive too. So I know that sounds funny because it's California native, but let's just say it's very thuggish and it spreads easily. So you do want to, be careful and be aware of that. All right, so this is the new watershed garden. It is gorgeous. It was just installed in winter last year, was it? Or spring last year? And it's grown in so much. I definitely suggest that you check it out. This was designed by the former garden director, Richard Hayden. He is now back in Los Angeles and working for the La Brea Tar Pits, I believe. He has so much experience with California native plants, habitat gardening, and landscape design. So now, let's go through here. All right, we had seen the cut flower garden area, and this is actually the cut foliage border. So we have some tea tree here, and then here's a smoke tree with those beautiful flowers. Florists die for this. They love the smoke tree. This usually comes in a purple burgundy color, but I quite like the chartreuse color with the pink flowers. Here's a better view of it. It goes deciduous. It doesn't have the prettiest branch form, tree form, but when it is fleshed out and blooming, it's quite pretty. Look at that. So these are mostly cut foliage. And the Philadelphus is almost done blooming. It's like one of those background shrubs that just pop out in spring. It's mostly used for fragrance. When you let this grow naturally and give it space to grow, it can look spectacular because it has a cascading habit. So when it blooms, the branches just fall over. It looks like a waterfall of white flowers. Okay, now go back into the garden, and there's a little woodland section here with some Pittosporum, Japanese anemones. We have a couple of azaleas and some cherry blossom trees. These are done blooming. These were lilac. Oh, here's another smoke tree, that burgundy color that's pretty common throughout the Bay Area. So now this is also a new garden. This is the pollinator garden, also designed by Richard Hayden, the former garden director. And it's really busting out. It's a mix of lots of flowering perennials, ornamental grasses, and like annual wildflowers that reseed. And I actually learned from him that ornamental grasses are important to pollinators because they use that as shelter. Sometimes they burrow into the grasses and sleep there, you know. So it's good to plant some of those, not only just flowers. And these plants are appropriate for California. They're low water plants. You can see that there are lots of kangaroo paws. We've got lots of buckwheat. This is St. Catherine's lace. Here is, down below, is this Bulbini or Bulbinella? I always confuse the two. And then there's another Toyon. There's a manzanita. Oh, there's the manzanita. Clarkia wildflowers that are blooming, and a bunch of poppies and yarrow down below. There are a few native salvias in here, like Salvia's Bee's Bliss, and Allen Chickering, I believe. And here's a California native Encelia. So pretty. Wow, this kangaroo paw, actually this is the one that I planted in my front garden to see if it will get this big. So I will report back to you guys on that. It's very bloomy. I really like this yarrow color. That's so pretty. Here's a Trichostemma. This is more of a hybrid one. If you guys know, the native Trichostemma species is very fussy. It's difficult to grow, but this one is a little more adaptable to garden environments. Tucked over there, back there, is a Grevillea. This is, I think this is a Long John. It looks similar to the one in my front yard. It's gonna get huge. Mine is big. It is very fast growing. Okay, let's see what else is going on here. This incredible phallic display is called Echium waldprettii. This is a biennial, and it's in its second year, so it's blooming. The bees love this. It will reseed itself, but it's easy to weed out. It's a super fun plant. And this is kind of like a traditional border of espalier trees. Lots of lavender, some alyssum, and some California native poppies. There's so many apples going on already. So these trees have been trained flat against this fence. It's space saving, but it's also a type of aesthetic of pruning and growing. So many apples. And wow, these tomatoes look so healthy. So every year, Gamble grows a bunch of heirloom tomatoes and smaller tomatoes like cherries, grapes, and things like that. And they try different varieties, and each year during the summer, usually in August, there's a tomato tasting event where the public is welcome to come by and try the different flavors, the different varieties, and vote for their favorite. There are also some seminars on tomato growing at that time too. So I don't know what's going to happen with coronavirus. Probably not going to happen this year, or maybe it's going to happen online as a video stream. But it's always a fun event. So these beds are grown for food, pretty much, annual vegetables. Right now, they're a little empty, but I'm sure they're going to be planted out. Mostly the tomatoes have gone down. There are some fava beans over here, and it looks like, yeah, they're totally coming on strong. You can pick them. Look at those fava beans. And then there are a bunch of more accessible, taller raised beds here. This is good, especially if you don't want to lean over. A lot of stir-fry greens, lettuces are grown here, but you know, in Palo Alto, the squirrels are notorious. They just love to pillage like crazy. So this has been a good way of protecting the vegetables, and you can get this through Amazon. These kind of like cages. And this is one of my favorite plants here. Can you guys guess what this is? These are kiwi vines. There's a male kiwi and a female kiwi. They need each other to pollinate and produce the fruit. And there is an abundance of kiwis every summer on these two vines. I think it looks so cool. The foliage looks amazing. And this kiwi is more like the tender type. There's the hardy kiwi, which is, they tend to be smaller, and the leaves tend to be smaller and less fuzzy. But this is kind of like the traditional ones that you would get at the grocery store. It grows vigorously. It's wild. And every year, these sweet peas just come up, you know? They reseed themselves. If you're into cottage gardens, this is the classic cottage garden annual. Sweet peas are not edible, purely ornamental. They're mostly used for fragrance, as a cut flower. It just looks really nice. So the time to plant sweet peas is October, November, December. No later than that. You really need to treat them like, kind of like a biennial or a perennial flower. They need that winter rain. Over here we have a demonstration bed with lots of low water plants. This bed is called drought tolerant once established. What that means is as soon as they have developed their roots and situate themselves into the ground after a couple of years, you can turn off the water and the plants will rely on the natural seasonal rain. I'm not sure about the phormium though. I don't think that's drought tolerant once established, but otherwise, for the most part, everything else does look that way. Guess what? This is a California native plant, this penstemon. So pretty. You know, most penstemons, they rebloom once you deadhead them or cut them back. They have a few flushes, but this penstemon is once blooming. It only blooms around this time of the year, in May. There is, what is this? Looks like Grevillea. Grevillea lanidra. And then here's another salvia, and that's so pretty. Sorry, I should point the camera down here. Check out this ground cover. This is a 2-gram. Isn't that funny? Yeah, this is a 2-gram. It's a very low growing one. Good for a rock garden. One of my favorite combinations here is this wallflower. This is called Bull's Mauve, with this Leucadendron Wilson's Wonder. Together, they're so beautiful as a combination. The colors really complement each other. And then there's some, is this a Tanacetum? Whatever it is, this is incredibly invasive. What is this called? I forgot. Not incredibly invasive, it's very aggressive. You can see that it started off here, but it has traveled under this Leucadendron into this wallflower. And here is an allium, and like I said, that it is very aggressive. It reproduces by its bulbs as well as the seeds, so you really have to be careful about planting alliums in your garden. Here's a euphorbia, blue haze, and what else? Yeah, I mean, drought tolerant once established. So here are some more perennial flowers as well, and some roses, just a mix of things. Here's a salvia, there's some poppies, another salvia. Wow, look at this poppy. So lots. And these are edible flowers. Bachelor's buttons, some borage, even dianthus. This is a dianthus. Okay, let's go over here. During coronavirus, COVID-19, the garden is still open to the public, but you know, obviously things are limited. Like you can't really picnic here, but you can buy plants. And there was a lot going on here where you can purchase, but I think they moved it into the back areas. But there are lots of plants that you can purchase through their website for pickup. Both vegetables, roses, perennials, succulents. So you might want to check that out. Ooh, look at this clematis. This is called Roguchi. Super cute. Some orange trees here. And then here are the greenhouses and the lath house. That's the lath house. Greenhouse. There are potting tables for sale. The volunteers have built these. Either the volunteers or the Boy Scouts have built these, so they're here for sale. This one's really cool with this sink. I want this one. And here are some cold frames to help harden off plants. The actual potting shed area is through those doors. Here are some more espalier, except these are pears. These have been pruned around this window. This is the horticultural office. If you guys are interested in the plant sales, this is some signage and information on it. Here's some other notices. Okay, so this is just about to bloom. Or did it bloom? No, it didn't bloom yet. This is a trumpet vine, Campsis radicans. And trumpet vines are very aggressive. They tend to spread, like the shoots tend to spread just like wisterias, right? They'll appear in random parts of the garden. They can get out of control. But if you're aggressive about pruning it, you can have it under control and have it be a beautiful display. So if you look here, there are only a few main branches. You know, obviously these are old ones, but you can start them young and develop them this way. A few main branches. Like 2 main branches here. And then how many? 3 main branches here. And then if you just follow these branches up, these are where the pruning cuts were made. So you have just 2 or 3 main branches, and then from each branch you have 2 or 3 side branches. And they're cut short. That's all you need to do. Make aggressive cuts, and then it shoots out like this is a single year's worth of growth. And the flowers are forming on those buds, on these buds. These flowers are going to open up. They're a really vibrant tomato red-orange color. When they do open up, they get heavy. And so these branches, they look a little dorky right now, just sticking out. But as soon as it flowers, this is what happens. They cascade down. This is a really good way of pruning and maintaining trumpet vines. Here's some more espalier apples. And this is a little nook. It's really cute. Columbines, some love in the mist flowers, lots of annuals coming up, some lavender. Daffodils were lining here. They're done. And over in here, there's a citrus tree. I think it's an orange. And down below, here is a cardoon. This is gonna get huge. This is a very healthy one. So it looks like there are more fava beans growing in here in the raised beds. And is there anything else we can see? Wow, this really needs to get pruned. In front of us is a fig tree. This has also been kind of espaliered, sort of. Squirrels love it. Okay, so there's the raised bed down there. Yeah. And back here is actually a few compost piles. So this is just kind of traditional compost. A 3-bin system. And then back there, over there are larger compost and soil amendment bins made out of concrete, so that it's really easy to unload, like a truck can unload stuff. You can get a wheelbarrow in there. Multiple people can shovel in the soil amendments. Here's a grapevine. Looks really healthy. And here's another grapevine. So this one has been trained to frame this window. I love this. These grapes are so cute. They're so tiny when they come on. Here are the flowers now. There we go. These are the flowers. And they're gonna form. I love this. You just really need a simple structure to support the vine. Oh, what's going on here? What is this? This is funky. But you see, this is a very simple structure for the vine. That's all it needs. Okay, I think that's it for today. We took a tour of most of the garden. It's in Palo Alto. Here's some information on it if you guys are interested in visiting. So this is the property. And it's on Waverly and Embarcadero. It's open to the public even during coronavirus time. Free, no admission, but please do consider becoming a member or donating to the garden. It actually costs a lot to operate this garden, guys. A lot. And this garden, a lot of people have the misconception that this is a public garden owned by the city. It is not. This is actually, the land is owned by the city, but Gamble Garden, they run this garden and they have to rent out this property, this piece of land. And this is a large piece of land in Palo Alto. It costs so much. So, without your support, or without the support of volunteers, donors, and members, I don't know. I mean, it's such a wonderful place. I just hope it stays for a long time. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this long walking tour. Thank you for walking with me. Have a wonderful Friday and a wonderful weekend. Bye everyone.